success, excellence, and motivation. Always be a champ.
Hello, fans. This is Jimmy Bingham from Great Employees Matter. Take 3 for today.
Take two, bro. Don't do me like that. Take 2.
All right, we'll save Kobe. We'll pretend like it was only 2. But welcome to this week's episode of Great Employees Matter. Without going through our preamble again, I'm just going to jump right in and say that we have a very exciting podcast this week with a young lady named Christina Spaulding. Christina is the founder of Manzanita Marketing, and she is a seasoned international SEO strategist. And we're going to explore her incredible journey. And she went from a corporate employee to a successful entrepreneur. And we want to hear all about how that happened and let you be an inspiration to those employees that are listening to our podcast if they decide to take that same path. And as we know, some employees love being an employee and being in their role and just kind of let things happen. But other employees are driven differently. And so your story is going to be very exciting for those people to hear. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kobe. And if you would put the screen on him, you can see his look of amazement.
You know, I'm hearing stuff, so I'm like, why is there some feedback coming from somewhere? I don't know. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, Christina. How are you today? I'm excited to talk to you today. But I like to start from the very beginning. So I'm going to rewind a little bit and ask you a little bit more about you. And I want to start with, where are you from?
So I'm originally from Chicago, the Chicagoland area, northern suburbs. If anybody listening is from the Chicagoland area, it's Glenview. We used to have a neighbor base. I was really lucky growing up. We were in a fantastic area that had a lot of educational opportunities. In 2nd grade, I was lucky enough to have the option of taking French. They passed out flyers, and I said, Mom, I gotta go take French classes. And my mom's like, why? I'm like, because we're French. And she's like, no, we're not. And I'm like, but I gotta go do this. It's at the other school. You have to drive me. And she's like, okay, if you want this so bad, we'll do it. So I took French through grade school. So thank you, Mom, for being a saint. And then in high school, we had the opportunity to take Spanish, Latin, German, and French. And I was taking French. I was like, I'm just going to continue French and I'll do clarinet. And my dad's like, no, you're going to take German because we actually are German. And I said, but I'm taking French. And he said, yeah, but you're going to take German. I said, but I'm taking French, but you're going to take German. I said, fine, I'll take both.
So did you take both?
I did. I took both for 4 years and realized that I was the only one doing that. And I thought, this is a thing. I'm the only one doing this. I can sell this somehow. Yeah, that's what a high schooler thinks. And
so Chicago high school. What about sisters and brothers?
I have one younger brother. He's still in Illinois. I'm here in Vegas. My parents are here in Vegas. My brother is a smart, dedicated parent to his kids, and he has gone through some challenges himself, but come out on top. And I am so proud of him. I'm so proud of my niece and nephew.
Okay, and tell me what was your first job? What was your first job that you actually got like right out of high school? You were going through 2 languages in high school?
Yeah.
What was your first job? Just curious.
I worked at a Hallmark card store.
Okay.
Back when people bought things in malls, I worked in a mall, and I worked at the Hallmark shop. And that was, I'm going to date myself here, that was when Beanie Babies came out.
Okay, no, you're not dating yourself.
Oh, no, that's totally dating myself. It's okay. But we had these stands of Beanie Babies, and we were all excited. And because I was a teenager, I was like, this is the best job ever. I get discounts on Beanie Babies.
And so when did you discover, because you're doing marketing right now, and you're very good at it. You own your own company, and we'll get there. But when did you decide that was your route? What job took you there?
So when I went to college, I told my dad major in languages, and he's like, "You're gonna what?" I'm gonna major in languages. What are you gonna do with that? I don't know, Dad, but that's what I'm gonna do. And he's like, would you at least minor in something business related? And I said, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I've done enough AP classes. I can take on a minor, no problem. So I minored in marketing because it was way better than accounting. And in college, I was incredibly fortunate to have professors that believed in me. So my freshman year of college, my French professor said, hey, there's a contest that you can apply for that you can spend the summer in Quebec City, Canada, taking a French for non-French speakers program. And I was like, okay, aren't there other? No, you should do this. You should do this. So really the lesson there was listen to mentors who believe in you. So I applied, I got it. I spent the summer in Quebec City. It was amazing. I really did learn much more French than I expected. I roomed with a family and then I stayed on campus and it was amazing, and really did drive home the fact that language is critical.
Well, yeah, I mean, you immersed yourself into the environment, which I'm a little familiar with. I speak a little bit of Japanese. My wife's Japanese, and being there and talking and doing it from here and talking is two different things. So when you immerse yourself, I agree with that. Now, did that take you to, that was employment, right? That was a job that took you there?
I was in college. So no, that was not employment. That was a exchange program.
Oh, I see.
But I did work internationally. There is an organization called ISEC, AIESEC. It is a college organization organized by students. The students go to corporations and ask if those corporations need interns, especially international interns who can speak other languages, who have a different cultural background. And then they go into their university and they recruit students. And I happen to know a gal who was in our ISEC chapter at my college. And she said, you should apply. I said, yeah, I should. So I did. And 2 weeks after graduation, I was interning in the Black Forest in Germany for a cigar manufacturer.
Wow. Another country.
Well, we skipped over the 6 months I spent in Strasbourg in France too. So
okay. So you're a serial traveler too also.
I am. Languages, culture, mutual understanding is so important, and getting to know people and their culture is critical. The world is tending towards English. If you look at the web, half of the content on the web is in English.
Mm-hmm.
But what's wild is 20 to 30% of the world speaks English. So if you're a business and you're only putting your content out in English, you are missing a massive opportunity. Here in the US, about 14% of the US speak Spanish. That's a significant market share. When you look at other demographics, that competes with so many other demographics. It's a underserved market.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at it from a search engine optimization perspective, which is where I wound up specializing, you can go after English keywords with a certain volume and try and rank and get customers that way. And you spend a lot of money because everybody's fighting over that keyword.
Yeah.
And if you do that for Spanish instead, you have a somewhat smaller volume, but you have a lot less competition for the same word.
Wow.
So you're also tapping into a market that isn't getting as much TLC.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to cut you there, and I'm
sorry.
No,
we got into the marketing
no,
thing, not the
no, because
employee thing, but
that's where I
it wraps
want to
together.
go. No, that's where I want to go. I want to go to the marketing thing. I wanted to find out a little bit more about your employment and what took you there. But I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Jimmy and let Jimmy go ahead and start with his questions, and we can come back to me.
Yeah, and I'll jump into that a little bit, but I want to identify that we have lots of similarities. I have a home in central Illinois, Pana. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it is right in the middle of Vandalia, Springfield, and Decatur.
Okay.
So that's about halfway down the state. We're both clarinetists, it appears.
I did clarinet for like 2 years. I am not a clarinetist.
Same thing with Jimmy. I'm joking. Same thing with Jimmy, though.
We both speak multiple languages. Laissez-faire un peu de moi.
Again?
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Did you understand anything he's saying?
I did, actually, yes.
Wow.
My son is a world traveler, and he actually lived in Quebec City for a couple of years. So we have that similarity. And we both have a business educational background. So I graduated from USC with a degree in business administration with an emphasis in accounting. So yeah, I'm one of those nerds that you didn't want to hang with. But so I'm going to go ahead and jump into Kobe's space and ask you. So can you tell us more about your employment history and pros and cons, and how that got you to the point where you realized it didn't make sense to continue to be looking for a job. You felt much more comfortable going ahead and going the entrepreneur route. So if you can talk to us a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Sure thing. So I moved to Germany at the end of the middle of 1999. So right for the millennium changeover. And I started with the internship, which was great. They loved me. I loved them. And we came to the end and they said, all right, we'll keep you on. I said, great. They said, for the same salary. And I said, no. I may be young, but I'm not naive. So I applied to jobs. And at that time in Germany, the economy was going through some major issues. So I applied to a job. I got the job. I was at the job. They bought a company that did the same thing as what was happening in my division, and they didn't need two secretaries. So I was laid off. I got another job in translation, and that was great until there was a merger, and they said, well, we have a spot, but the gal I carpool with, she's going to get that spot. And I said, oh, okay. I see what's happening here. And you kind of got disillusioned really fast when those are your first two jobs. And within 2 years, you're laid off twice.
Wow.
So I had a saving grace. I had a fantastic mentor. So the woman who hired me as the intern really cared about me as a person and about growing the next generation of leaders. So from a leadership perspective, if you are already thinking about creating leaders, you can push that down the chain. You can inspire employees to think entrepreneurially within the business, which gives them the freedom to create really great ways of doing business and improving your bottom line. So what she taught me, not just at the cigar company, but in the years afterwards, was to believe in myself, which was critical, but also to pass the baton forward and hire interns, give people room to make mistakes, and give people room to make their own decisions about what they're doing, how to do it. So she was critical in my development. And after the second layoff, she said, well, why don't you just freelance? And I said, oh, I can do that. Yes, I can. So I became a freelancer in Germany, providing English language services, translation services, and teaching services to German companies. So I kind of just jumped into the deep end and counted on language skills to save me, and they did. I came back to the U.S. because I had some personal issues, family issues that were happening. I wanted to come back and support my family. So I did, and came to Vegas, worked for a mortgage company in 2007. You guys can guess how that went, right?
Yeah, 2008 was the crash.
That's right.
Yes, it was. So they were kind of the leading indicator. They went out of business in 2007, and I worked for the Chamber of Commerce in Las Vegas from 2007 to 2009. And there I met my next inspirational role model. My boss there was Kara Clark, now Kara Roberts. She's been Kara Roberts for probably 15 years. So she's the VP of PR over at the Vegas Chamber, and she is amazing. If you've ever worked with her, she is professional, insightful, smart, understands the media, understands how to pitch a story for maximum impact, and a nice person who cares about this business community intensely. So she formed how I think about how you deal with people and how you tell a story to people so that they pay attention and that they care. In 2009, the crash happened in 2008, the fallout happened in 2009, and then the Vegas Chamber, an institution for, at least 60 years at the time, had their first layoffs ever.
Wow.
And I was one of the newer employees, so I was also one of the few to be laid off. So we're at 4 layoffs so far. After that, I worked for a content creation company called Textbroker. I was their first US employee. And guess where they're based? Germany.
Really?
They wanted somebody who spoke German because they didn't feel confident presenting themselves on the American market with an accent. And I said, you guys speak great English, but if you're going to hire me, I'm happy to do that work for you. So I was one of a team of 4. Then we grew to 16. Then we grew to 60 something.
Oh, wow.
I helped increase revenue year over year by 30%. I managed their marketing. Once I stopped managing HR and marketing and operations, and I just did marketing. It was great because I could take that guidance from my first mentor and the storytelling from my second mentor, bring them together and really present Textbroker as the source for content at a high level. So blog posts and content partnerships with PR Newswire or PR Web, one or the other, with SEO journals, at trade shows, all of that. It was fantastic because I had all of the skills and I had the mentorship from my previous experiences to give me the confidence to do that and to manage people while doing it.
But it sounds like there's more to the story.
Oh, there's more to the, of course there's more to the story, but to stick on Textbroker for just a minute.
Okay.
I did hiring there and I did manage people. And that was the first time I had to let someone go. And that was a hard thing. So I thought to myself, how can I prevent losing employees? Because it takes so much to hire a good employee. And we came up with a onboarding program that really clearly spelled out what people needed to know if they were going to be working with us, what the expectations were. Here are all the tools you can use. Here are the corners you can cut. And here are the corners that you can't. And giving that guidance and formalizing that guidance and reinforcing at regular basis with the employees that we had really helped us grow the team and elevate employees internally to keep people motivated to produce the best they could, because they knew they were going to be rewarded, appreciated, get promotions. We wanted to promote internally because that was important. We wanted to create a culture of language nerds.
Well, you're speaking our language. Speaking of language nerds, as far as having the company recognize the value of the employee, right? The most important asset is their employee because of the face of the company. And it sounds like you certainly were part of, but probably instrumental in developing the employer team that created that environment, so your employers understood that they were being appreciated for an effort well done. I know that there's more to that story, so we're trying to squeeze a bunch in. So I'm going to go ahead and migrate over to Lloyd, because then you get a little bit of a breather, because he's going to ask just the most intelligent, thought-provoking questions that you can possibly imagine. Go ahead, Lloyd.
I want to know where this guy's coming from. I have a couple of questions. Initially, I have a full disclosure. Both my sister and my brother-in-law graduated from Duke, and
Yes.
I'm still confused. What would make her from Los Angeles area want to go to North Carolina? Why did a Chicago girl go to North Carolina?
I didn't, or only a little bit. So I did my MBA at Duke because at the time Duke had a program, a cross-continent MBA is what they called it. Already interesting for me, multilingual, cross-continent. It was based partially in Germany and then partially in North Carolina. So this was distance learning before distance learning was a thing.
Yeah.
I did the program from 2002 to 2004 because I realized that freelancing with a bachelor's degree was not going to get me where I needed to go. I needed additional education, and I thought an MBA was the way to do it. So the program structure, even then, 20 years ago, reflected the way that I had worked at the translation company, because we were all of my vendors at the time were in other countries. They were in the country that they were translating work for. And I was in Germany at the time. And that matched how we worked, matched how I learned. So it was the right program for me at the right time. And one of the reasons I chose Duke was the alumni network afterwards. I knew that the people I was going to meet in that program were going to be top quality. And they are. So all my Dukies out there, thank you. You guys are great.
Did you say Dookies? Never mind. I'm going to leave that alone.
So it leads me to a great point, because we've had a lot of employers and employees on the show. But one of the things that's come up, and it's on the decrease now here in Los Angeles, is that during COVID, of course, everybody was promoting working remotely. And now the trend is going back the other way. Companies, including the federal government, are forcing their employees back into the office. Can you just talk about your experience of learning remotely and things that worked and some of the things that didn't? And if you have any tips for the audience, I'm sure they'd love to hear that.
So the Duke program at the time was 2 weeks in person. So you got to know everybody in person pretty deeply, because you're all sequestered in a hotel for 2 weeks. And then you're on campus in the same dorm area for 2 weeks. But then after those 2 weeks, it was 2 months of distance learning. And you had to schedule your meetings with your fellow students who could be in Europe, they could be in Asia, they could be in the US. And that is a challenge that a lot of businesses have now still. A lot of businesses outsource to India for their IT. And if you're in IT, you know you're going to need to have a early morning or a late evening call. So what worked for us was flexibility and communication. And I think those are critical. One thing that I have also found helpful, and I'm sorry if this sounds political, I swear to God it's not, is actually using pronouns. Because if you are working with people from other cultures, countries, and languages, sometimes you get somebody who's named Sri. And I don't know if Sri is a male name or a female name. And if I'm going to talk to them on the phone, I want to be able to talk to them correctly. There are other countries where Karen is a male name. So using pronouns is helpful in international situations to diffuse any potential confusion. Back in 2002, we didn't worry about that. But because most of my career has been international, every once in a while you're like, ooh, I got a 50-50 chance here, man. So it's not always a political thing. Sometimes it can be so helpful for international customers. Sure. Besides that, having the tech that we have now is so amazing. When we did our online classes back in the 2000s, oh my gosh, let me get a cane and a walker when I got out of this interview. We didn't have sophisticated webcams. We didn't have setups like this where the sound quality was so good. You know, you were hoping that you didn't get disconnected halfway through because your internet went out. So the tech that we have now really is such a blessing for international folks, people working internationally on weird time zones, all of that. Being able to play back a lesson over and over is great. But I am a little old school. I find that manually taking notes with paper and a pen or pencil helps me solidify my learning in a way that typing doesn't. So if you are taking online courses and you're not retaining the information the way you want, that is a nice low-tech, lo-fi option to try and see if that works for you.
Well, speaking of tech and typing, I'm going to pass this back over to Kobe because there's a question from one of our audience regarding AI. So, Kobe?
Yeah, actually, the question comes from one of our regulars, Mr. Dale, which I had the pleasure of meeting about a week and a half ago in person, and really appreciate you supporting the show, Dale, and really appreciated meeting you the other week. So, but with that being said, you started to touch on it a little bit, Christina. You said the technology was amazing. That's music to my ears, right? But how could AI affect your service and what you do? And I know you're in marketing, so it's probably big, but I want to hear it from your perspective.
AI is absolutely a hot topic when it comes to language, translation, marketing, all three of those things. Large language models have advanced the way that we think about language and how we use them. I don't use them the same way that many people do. I don't use them to create content. I use them to see what I don't want. I'll usually outline myself and I'll be like, okay, go ahead, tell me what this article should be. And I get the article and I go, okay, no, maybe. Okay, you got a good point there. And that formulation is cute. But everything else I have to personalize a little bit more for my target audience. Now, that's probably that my prompting skills are not as great as they could be, but I do think that there's a human touch that should come to writing. And when you are translating or localizing, which is a better word for what I do, translation is as close to the original source material as possible. And localization allows you to bring in a little bit of the local culture that you're targeting to. So that includes things like if you're writing about sports teams and you're writing for Europe or for South America or anywhere that's not the US, when you say football, here you think about the Bears and the Packers and the Raiders.
Cowboys.
You got a Cowboys fan in here. I'm just going to let you know. Can't leave them out.
I'm sorry.
Okay, nobody thinks about the Cowboys.
But everywhere else, if you say football, they think Real Madrid, they think BVB, Borussia Dortmund, they think Arsenal London. They don't think Dallas Who's What's It's.
Wow. She said Dallas Who's What's It's.
All right.
I love it because I'm not a Cowboys fan either. So, or whatever team Lloyd is talking about.
But internationally, Cowboys are probably one of the few teams that people do know. So I will give them that because the cheerleaders and the logo.
That's why I know them.
And the talent.
If you guys say so, I believe you. I'm not a football fan. But there's a cultural difference between if you say, hey, and the Raiders went 5-0 versus an Arsenal went 7-0. There's a cultural difference. If you're translating, you have to stick with the Raiders going 5-0. If you are localizing, you can choose Real Madrid, you can choose the Mexican national team. You have different cultural reference points that you can pull into the content.
So my next question for you regarding AI is, how is that affecting? You have employees, correct?
I currently have an intern, and he's amazing, by the way. Thank you, Gavin, for all you do.
Okay. So how does AI affect employees and hiring and or not for you?
I sourced my intern through a program called Standout Interns. It's done through, I want to say it's the University of Chicago, but it's done through a university, and they did all the selectioning. So it's a great program, Standout Interns. You can find them online. So if you are a business owner and you need an intern, these are high school students that are incredibly talented, motivated, smart, dedicated, show up on time, dress appropriately, bring you unique insights from their demographic. Would 100% 10 out of 10 recommend. Fire emoji.
Nice.
And they did all of the screening and all of that. So if I needed to hire additional talent, I would not use AI myself, especially not an LLM. LLMs or large language models are built on the information that you feed it. And there's a institutional cultural bias against certain names and terms that they've already proven in other HR applications that with an equivalent resume, just having a different name already fails an applicant. And I think that the LLMs are not trained well enough yet to avoid those institutional biases.
Interesting.
Well, I'm going to ask you one more question before I pass it over back to Jimmy. and it's going to be a doozy. I kind of want to see where you are in this, but in what ways can employees in any field benefit from understanding digital marketing basics like SEO and content?
So AI isn't going anywhere as much as I have my objections to it. So understanding where the shortfalls are is going to be critical in how you use it to do your job or find your job. If you know that big hiring companies are using AI and you're going to use AI in response, well, that's you understanding the market that you're applying to and just using the best tools that you have to get your foot in that door. The other things that a employee or somebody looking for a job can think about from a marketing perspective is you are a product and a brand. And what you as a potential employee want to do is make employers understand your unique selling principle, why they should pick you over all the other applicants that they're getting out there, because you know they're getting hundreds and thousands of applications.
Jimmy?
So I'm going to go ahead. I'm still kind of caught up in this doozies and dookies, and so I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Lloyd, and then we can come back and hit our SSP. Lloyd?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just do the Lloyd Dix patented softball question, which means that you should be running for your life at this point in time. But first, before I get there, I have a comment, which is we inherited my mother's Beanie Baby collection. And so we have hundreds of Beanie Babies, and would love for you to come over one day and tell me if any of them are worth anything. But that's my comment. Now, for the Lloyd Dix patented softball question, having had all those years working in the gaming industry and specifically in the machinery, how the heck do I win at the slot machines? Please, do you have a guaranteed method for winning?
No, I do not, because they are set to win at a certain rate, but the outcome for any individual game is not determined until you put the money in and you push the button. Once you push the button,
wow.
When you push the button, that's when, no matter what the graphics do, your outcome is already decided.
Really?
So, yeah.
I'm never gambling again.
Wow. So how do I win? Come on, give me the secret.
There is no secret. And you know what? Unfortunately, that's the worst question to ask me, because when I was at IGT, they do the Wheel of Fortune slot machine, they do the video poker, they have all these great games. And I did marketing for their systems products. So that's all the stuff that happens behind the scenes.
Got it.
So if you want to know how a Players Club card works behind the scenes, I can tell you.
Well, I can tell you firsthand that I won on the Wheel of Fortune machine, though, like a few $100s.
See? I mean, by law, so the good thing about gambling at legal casinos is that there are laws that say that they have to pay out a certain percentage rate. I think on the Strip, like the minimum's like 80% that they have to pay back to the customers. So you know that even if you don't win on one spin, eventually somebody's going to have to win. So why not try?
Whoa.
With casinos that are not regulated, you don't have the assurance that somebody's going to win. So
they just taking all your money.
If there are no rules and if there's no enforcement of the rules, well, yeah. But here in Las Vegas, here in Nevada, in most of the jurisdictions in the US and in Canada, you do have strong protections for consumers. So,
Yeah,
Usually-
Kobe, what a great guest for us in terms of the tidbits that she's offered, not only for writing stuff by hand, which I personally find extremely useful. If I write it out by hand, I don't forget it. And I never thought of it, but that is differently to typing. To everything to how not to spend your money in Vegas on the slot machines. So I'll turn it over to you with some different questions.
Well, I don't know if I'm gonna take it from you, but I am gonna go ahead and share Dale's comment, which Dale says, my grandpa told me gambling is like having sand in my pockets. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that over to Jimmy so we can SSP out of here.
And let's SSP. So, Christina, we have a segment of our show that is called self-serving promotion. And so we want to, or actually it's shameless self-promotion. So we want to give you that opportunity to share with our audience how they get in touch with you, especially if they have businesses or just general interest in SEO and maximization of your search engine optimization. How they get in touch with you, your website, your social handles, your phone number, all that sort of stuff.
excellent. Thank you. So I'm Christina Spaulding with Manzanita Marketing. I started my agency in 2023 after the 7th layoff. We got through a 4, but 7 layoffs total. Lucky number 7. I said, that's it. I'm going on my own, hang out my own shingle. So it's manzanitamktg.com. That's manzanitamktg.com. I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, all under manzanitamktg.com. And I am looking to help small, medium-sized businesses as well as nonprofits find and convert their clients online. And I'm especially helpful with international search engine optimization. So if you have a company that's looking to head into Europe and kind of fight some of the negative PR, the tariffs, consumers and businesses like to buy in their native language. There's been research that people prefer to buy in their native language by 75%. So for a small investment, you can tap into really great markets with some smart planning and evergreen content.
Well, with that, I love that answer, but something escaped me during this conversation that I want to address. We got 10 minutes, if that's cool. I do want to address one thing. You said 7 layoffs?
Yeah, 7.
Okay, so 7 layoffs. So my question is, what's one thing companies can do better to support the next Christina Spaulding in their ranks?
So if companies want to retain smart talent, then giving them a clear path to success is critical. And you need metrics to set expectations for both yourself and your employees. But if you want people who are striving for more to stick with you, then you need to give them the internal connections to make the next move up. And if you don't give employees the chance to grow internally, they will grow externally. When they hit their ceiling, they will move elsewhere. And then you've invested time and money into growing this resource that's doing great work for you. And it would be a shame to lose that talent because you say, oh, they're good where they are. They're too valuable for us to lose at that position. If you are thinking that an employee is too valuable to lose at that position and they say, hey, I want to move up, you will, if you say no, you will lose them anyway.
I love that answer because at Great Employees Matter, we teach everybody to be accountable to themselves, for themselves. And that means if you're at a company where you're being accountable to yourself and you see your worth and that company is not meeting that worth, you are going to move. So I agree 1000% with that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jimmy.
I just like to comment that we would like to have you back on the show because we didn't touch on your commitment to charitable endeavors, and you have a wonderful story there as well. And so there'll be time when we bring you back for that. I think that we got a lot of gems. I was going to say pearls of wisdom. Pearls are gems too. So we got a lot of gems from you that our audience can appreciate. You do speak our language. A lot of what you say regarding employees is very valuable, spot on, and we hope that employees listen to that and recognize that they do have the ability to move from average to great. But more importantly, we hope that employers listen to you and that they can make the changes that they need to make in order to protect their investment being their employees. So thank you for that. Lloyd, I'm going to turn it over to you for a final question if you have, or comments to Christina. And I do want to compliment you because I think you're the first guest that has been able to take one of Lloyd's soft lobs and knock it out of the park and actually answer. Most people just go, oh my goodness, did he really ask that? So Lloyd, back to you.
Yeah, my wife is still talking about that when 38 years ago I said, will you marry me? And she said, oh my God, are you really asking that? So yeah, I get that a lot. No, I just wanted to say that you were truly a unique guest and brought a wide range of perspective that the audience surely enjoyed, and I'm sure they'll be contacting you. On behalf of all of us, just wanted to say thank you, and I'll pass it over to Kobe to take us out.
Yeah. Before I take us out, Dale wants to leave you with Christina. Thank you for caring for people in this world of ours. That's one of our main spectators for Great Jim, and we love them. But with
Thank you, Dale.
Yeah, if you're watching, please like, support us, share, subscribe. We're here every Tuesday at 2 p.m. We're going to be doing some additional shows called Gems Maybe. So I haven't figured that out yet, but we are going to be bringing some special people to the platform, and we'll be doing additional shows on top of that. Also, this show was sponsored by one of our main sponsors. It's called Waylot. What are you leaving on the table? And if you can go check them out at waylot.com, that's www.waylott.com. What are you leaving on the table? They have a free assessment that you can take, and they're guaranteeing that they can find 69 times
your investment.
Right? So please check them out. That's our sponsor, waylot.com. And as always, thank you for joining us. Like, share, subscribe, and remember, be accountable to yourself, for yourself, and always be a gem.